guess we're fine if we, so
Okay,
we've got
well,
our speakers if you want to admit everyone else, Dave.
Well, my screen
right.
says it's 3:30.
Here they come. Yep.
Ba-doom.
Yep.
Whoa.
March of the People.
Edie, thanks for being here. Yeah, so I guess we're fine if we, so
Okay,
we've
well,
got our
it's-
speakers if you want to admit everyone else. Hearing a weird echo
My
here.
screen says it's 3:30.
Here they come.
Oh, Dave, are you playing the YouTube? That's what you're doing, is it?
March of the People.
Thanks for being here. Yeah, so I guess we're fine if we, so we've got our speakers.
Let's just make sure we mute ourselves when we're not actively speaking.
Hi, Phyllis.
Okay, shall we begin?
Says 2 people are still waiting to get in. Only 1 now.
Okay, Eric and Dave, give me the go ahead whenever we're ready.
We are streaming to YouTube, and I think we're good to go.
Okay, then let me say welcome everyone to the first official special interest group of 3D-Con 2020. This is a new and exciting experience for everyone, of course. My name is Gordon Au. I'm coming to you live here from New York, and it's my pleasure to be your moderator / host for this little session here. So this is 3D on social media, which is kind of a fresh, exciting thing in the 3D world. And today's game plan is basically I'll give an overview and some tips and tricks about various social media platforms, including some results that I got from a poll that I sent to users of different platforms. And then I'm grateful that we have some experts, some power users, as it were, who are also going to speak with us today. And of course, you'll notice that attendees, your mics are muted by default, but we will open it up for questions and discussion at certain times. So let me start off and just give some general considerations about 3D on social media. So if you're not active on social media, first, why do you care? And there are several reasons, but one is, of course, discovering more 3D content and more creators of 3D, some of which are only basically on certain platforms and nowhere else online. If you are like many of us and wind up taking a lot of phone stereo photography, a lot of these platforms are very convenient for that. Most of these platforms are free. You can follow topics that are of specific interest to you and also follow people whose 3D you like. You can give and receive reactions and comments. They're organizing tags for finding content you like. You can tag specific people to share content with them. And finally, a lot of people use many of these platforms as just 3D diaries or ways to create 3D records of their work. Now, in terms of drawbacks and limitations in general, with many platforms, the viewership of what you share is really uncertain. And for certain of these, it may require a lot of time and energy investment to build up a following. And at first, people won't see what you share. So that's whether you have the patience and, of course, the cost benefit of working with those sites. Of course, like elsewhere in the 3D world, there is kind of the bell curve of the quality of 3D content that you find on these platforms. Of course, the social media has made it a lot easier for people to share their 3D stereo photography. But of course, yeah, like I said, there's a mix of quality there. And like everywhere else on the internet, there are problems with spam and trolls. And with social media in particular, there's some social drama. It's right there in the name, and it's kind of unavoidable. But now I'd like to dive into specific platforms, and I'm gonna, just as a visual aid here, I'm gonna share this with you all. Okay. Okay, so first of all, the platform that I know best, which is Instagram. So according to the poll that I sent out to people, most respondents said that Instagram is best suited for stereo pairs and anaglyphs. A little under half of people said it's also great for wiggle GIFs, and about a third of people mentioned 3D videos as well. In terms of how easy Instagram is to use for viewing and viewing 3D, sharing 3D, and how welcoming it is to beginners, most people rated it a little over 4 of 5. In terms of benefits and advantages, it has hashtags, which are great for topic searching, for reaching viewers, and for connecting with others. So for example, of course, this one we're looking at here, hashtag Dubois anaglyph, which you think is fairly niche, still gives you almost 350 results here. Another big advantage is a very active community, which respondents have called generally warm and friendly, wide and enthusiastic, mutually supportive. It's great for sharing advice. People say you can find constructive criticism from people willing to help, saying you can get responses and advice back from fellow 3D people fairly quickly. There's a built-in messaging system, which makes it convenient to contact people. It's publicly viewable largely without being a registered user, although there are a lot of private accounts as well. If you view 3D, if you free view on like cell phone size and or you use viewers like Google Cardboard, then it's convenient for that, obviously. And as one poll respondent put it, overall, basically you reach many people, you learn from others, and you gain friends is the idea. Now, in terms of general drawbacks or limitations, the picture and video size and quality and duration on Instagram are all severely limited. You can do multi-image posts, but only up to 10 photos. Perhaps the biggest pain of Instagram is there are specific ratio requirements, which often require you to reformat your pictures. So in this example I'm showing you, of course, you can see that the default browsing method just shows you a bunch of squares. And furthermore, you see some sideways pictures, which is a workaround for the fact that Instagram is, again, optimized for portrait orientation screens. You can post pictures sideways. For example, if we look at this, this one up here in the corner, I've posted it sideways to get more real estate, as it were. And again, Instagram's optimized for that portrait mode. And you can get around that, of course, on the phone by rotating your phone to view it. But of course, this is a pain if you're on a desktop. And if you're on a laptop, you know, you can fool around with it, but it's not optimum, obviously. There's also a character limit for post captions and comments, so it's not great for lengthy discussion. And again, perhaps especially with Instagram, people note that there's kind of a definite social subculture, one person says, that is sometimes difficult to navigate. One other thing I'll mention with Instagram is what's unavoidable, and that is mentioning the influence of Dr. Brian May, who of course has done so much for stereoscopy. Many people recognize that there are just tons of Queen fans on Instagram who are also into stereoscopy. And it's inarguably a great thing that he's brought so many people interested, gotten so many new and young people interested in stereoscopy. And for better or worse, however, with some of these people, of course, their interest in 3D is secondary to their interest in Dr. May and Queen. But of course, that's just how it is. Now, in the chat, I'll share in a little bit a link to a kind of resource document that I've put together for this session. And that contains a formatting summary, kind of a cheat sheet for Instagram that you may find useful. For Instagram, there's also a use of some example hashtags to check out, including things like just hashtag stereoscopic, which has more than 103,000 posts. So it's a lot to check out if you haven't. And I also have a link to some tutorials, like one about using Stereo Photo Maker to format your stereo photos for Instagram. There's also one for making wigglograms using Photoshop. But speaking of that, we have here with us today Jasmine Dixon, aka IC Magic on Instagram, and she has graciously agreed to talk to us a little bit about the wiggle GIFs and the stereos that she makes on Instagram. So I'm gonna turn it over to Jasmine here.
Hey, thanks, Gordon. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
So my name's Jasmine. Let me start by getting my screen going here. Are you able to enable that, Gordon?
I think Eric is going to switch that on for you in a second here.
Okay, great. Let's see if it's working. There we go. Okay. Okay. So I specifically post on Instagram. So this is my handle here, IC Magic. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about my wiggles today. So you might see a little decrease in the quality of the video here, but I've found to show the wiggles in Zoom, it just needs to be downgraded a little bit. So I'm showing you here an example of a wiggle I posted today. And so wiggles are stereo images that when stitched together, usually 2 to 4 frames, they create a sense of depth, and they're usually in a video or a GIF format. And so that sense of depth is, of course, created by the occlusion and the parallax of objects in the background. So some benefits of wiggles is that they capture things in motion, so you can get that kind of fun capture, like catching this flame in this photo. And I also really like wiggles because it's an inclusive 3D imagery, so you don't need to free view and you don't need stereoscopic glasses. So it can offer depth to people that may have vision impairments. And it's also great for Instagram because all you need is a single little loop of the video, and Instagram will automatically just play it over and over again for you. For making wiggles, I recommend there's 2 different apps if you wanted to tinker around with them, and the links are in the supplemental materials, but they are called Rito 3D is the one that I mainly use. And I find it's very intuitive. It takes 3 to 4 frames, stereo photos, and then you can stitch them together in that app. If you're on Android, there's an app called Wigglegram, and that takes 2 frames. Wigglegram is also on iOS too. But if you were going to make a 3D wiggle from scratch in Photoshop, I'm going to show you just a really quick, easy little tutorial of how you could do that. So let me make my screen a little better here. Hopefully that clears it up. So I have my Photoshop open and I have 3 of my stereo photos in here. I'm going to just look at the first one. And when you're making a wiggle, you'll want to focus on a single point in an image. So I'm going to zero in on this white dot here. And so I've got a little graphic that I've made that I can pinpoint in the images so I can keep it consistent throughout. So that's the first image I'm on. Now I'm going to reveal my second photo and I can see where that white dot is here, but my target's over to the side. So I'm going to drag my photo over and hold Shift so that I don't move it vertically at all. And I'll do the same for the third photo, holding Shift and moving that over. And so now I'll zoom out. And in Photoshop, my workspace is arranged as the motion setting. So that way I can create a timeline down here. And so I'm going to click Create Frame Animation and go to this little menu here and make frame from layers. And that's going to grab all of the layers that I have over on the right side, including that little focus point I made. So I'll just go ahead and delete that. So if I push play, you can see that it's looping together like that. But of course, because I moved the photos, I do need to do some cropping just to get that all synced together. And holding Shift to keep my aspect ratio, which is set for Instagram's profile ratio. And so when I play it, now I don't have that edge showing anymore. But to make it seamless, I need to do one last step, and that's take the second frame here and go to this menu again copy it, and I'm going to go to the last frame, paste, and paste after the selection. And so this is so that we can do a 1, 2, 3, 2, 1 sequence so that the video is seamless. And that's basically it to do it just quickly in Photoshop. You could render that as a video or export it as a GIF. And I recommend video because then you can drag that into Premiere. You could join it with other ones that you've made and do all kinds of editing with that. So yeah. Let me know
Nice,
if you have
thank
any
you, Jasmine.
questions. Yeah.
Yes, any questions about the Wiggle GIFs or about Instagram in general?
Can we just unmute and say them, or are we supposed to type them in?
I guess
Can
you're
hear you.
unmuted, so we are. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I've done all that first part, but where I seem to have trouble is getting them into Instagram. It never is happy with my format. If they're too long, or they're too short, or they're too hot, or they're too cold. So what the heck am I doing wrong?
So David, if you go everyone to the Con webpage and go to the tab for special interest groups, and you look for this special interest group, you'll see there's a link there for supplementary materials, and that'll have a description of the Instagram formatting requirements. And that's a lot of it. However, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and Jasmine, you can correct me on this, but I think Instagram needs video files instead of actual GIF files. Is that right?
Yes. So when you're loading to Instagram, it has to be video. It doesn't take GIF. Yeah.
And isn't there some sort of minimum length of it, or am I dreaming that?
There is, I believe it's 6 seconds. So if you can loop it more in Photoshop, or you can take it into Premiere and just copy paste and get that.
Yeah. And Jasmine, did you take those, or do you generally take the different frames with that Reto camera?
Yeah, I usually shoot with this camera here, the Reto 3D. Yeah, and their app is pretty intuitive, and they have a free version, so I like that one. Yeah.
Nice. Any more Instagram related questions from anyone?
Great.
So you put the Wiggles on other than Instagram also?
Yeah, it's a video file, so you could put that on Facebook. You could put that anywhere. Yeah.
And that's
Instagram is helpful because it automatically loops it. On other platforms, you may need to just make a longer video.
Okay.
I have
Well,
a question.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
That was really cool. I didn't know you shot with that camera. I thought for a second you were just moving across and so you could do more than 3 frames if you just kind of horizontally moved your camera. I mean, you couldn't capture motion that way, but my question is for the Instagram, I thought they liked square formats. You make it sound like they prefer some sort of a tall rectangular size.
Yeah. So basically, you have the option to go from kind of I guess it is a portrait, but it would be a very small portrait orientation picture, up to essentially upright cell phone screen size are the aspects it accepts. However, when you are browsing through like a feed, then it just only shows you squares. So if you post a tall picture, it only shows you it crops off the top and bottom.
I see.
Essentially.
Thanks.
Sure.
Hey, David, I see your question. The Reto camera is a film camera. Yes, I've got 35mm in there.
That would be so cool if they came out with a digital version as well.
Yes.
And that's how you got the flame that you got. You froze that flame with that camera.
Yeah, exactly.
That looked very nice.
Thank you.
It's kind of magical.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's great. Before I forget, I also wanted to post really quickly here. I'm going to put a link in the chat. This is a Google document where if attendees here on social media want to share your social media contact info with everyone, you can add it to that list and everyone can see it. Just be careful not to overwrite other people's entries, but it's a public document. And I can also, I'll also share the link for that on the 3D-Con webpage later. And Dan, I see, asks, do videos automatically loop when posted in Instagram stories? In stories, I don't believe so. I think they just play once. Yeah. Yes, and the NIMSLO is similar to that Ruto camera. Yes. Okay, well, let's see. Maybe we should go on now to Facebook, because we do have there are a lot of platforms to talk about here. So thank you again, Jasmine. And by the way, Jasmine's website and contact info are in that resource document that's on the webpage. And I'm gonna share this here. Okay, so as a general introduction to 3D on Facebook. So poll respondents say that it is best for stereo pairs, as well as basically Facebook 3D photos, which is a special format. If you're unfamiliar with that, so that's what I'm sharing here. This Facebook 3D format is basically kind of you can move around the picture, right, and get a 3D perspective, but at the same time, you're not really seeing it in 3D. So it's kind of a weird like 2.5D format, which has its advantages and disadvantages. So in general, on Facebook, people, poll respondents rate it as a little easier for viewing and sharing 3D than Instagram, about 4.5 of 5, but perhaps a little less welcoming to beginners. Some of its great advantages include having active groups, which people call large ready-made audiences. And some of these groups are extremely specific. So you can, for example, find a group dedicated to Fujifilm 3D cameras or the Stereo Realist camera. Or you can find a more popular group like one devoted to Magic Eye 3D, which has over 10,000 members. Another thing is you can do multi-image posts and photo albums. It's more suitable than Instagram for lengthy posts and discussions. And at least for the desktop version, there's built-in messaging. On the mobile, it does require a separate app to do that. And back to the Facebook 3D format, people note that it's nice for getting non-3D people into 3D, with a respondent noting that more of our non-3D friends are getting interested in 3D thanks to that. However, under the category of drawbacks and limitations, that format is, again, arguably not real 3D, and there are many weird artifacts and flaws that you get from using it. Also, in terms of drawbacks, some of these groups I mentioned are closed or members only. And finally, Facebook in general is kind of hard to view and navigate unless you're a registered user. So that's another minus. Again, in the resource documents, I have a link to a couple tutorials by Masuji Suto, the maker of Stereo Photo Maker, about using his program to export Facebook 3D photos and how to get that to work on Facebook. And also one of the groups, I also have a list of example groups to check out, and one of them is devoted to stereoscopic 3D fractals. And we're lucky today to have with us Mr. S. Rathinagiri, who does a lot of 3D fractals himself, and he's going to tell us a little bit about his fractals and his 3D work and his experience using Facebook. So if you are there, S. Rathinagiri, if you'd like to talk to us.
So thank you, Gordon, for giving me this opportunity. It's a wonderful opportunity. So I have a great pleasure in being with you, friends. So let me share my screen for you. Okay. So as Gordon has told, so this particular I'm having interest in this 3D fractal. More than 10 years, I'm creating a fractal every day. So since it is graphical and since it is computer generated, any kind of 3D can be created, right? Like either depth map or you want anaglyph or whatever it is. Okay, so it's also perfect. Okay, the depth map will also be perfect. So that's why any Facebook 3D, for example, you can see here in my web page, in my Facebook page. So I post actually all the kinds of formats, for example, cross view or parallel or whatever it is. So Facebook helps us to post any kind of format here. So especially this for this fractal, you can see it is actually showing good. Okay, so let me show you another piece. Okay, so I post most of my work in the Facebook only, because I got so many friends and fans from this Facebook media. Okay, so please see here. Okay? Like can be Facebook 3D is when you have a wonderful depth map, a perfect depth map, then it will be good. Otherwise, again, this Facebook 3D will not be that much good. Okay, so yes, this one is also good. Okay. So and this one is very much famous. Okay, something like that. So thank you, Gordon. I think I'm not. I'm just an amateur, and I'm an accountant, and I'm not that much having knowledge with 3D. But I'm working in this fractals for more than 10 years, and every day I prepare one. Okay. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And your 3D fractals are quite amazing. For those people who don't know, can you tell us the programs that you use to make the fractals?
Definitely. Okay, so here I am using two software products. One is J Wildfire, another one is Mandelbulb 3D. Okay, so Mandelbulb 3D is really a wonderful piece of thing. This one is created using Mandelbulb 3D, and J Wildfire can be used for transparent 3D fractals. Okay, so that will be usually this one is also using Mandelbulb 3D only. So this is also Mandelbulb. Okay, so usually I use two products. Okay, either of these two. Yes. Thank you.
It's wonderful. Thank you again. Does anyone have any questions about? One thing I did want to mention for the Facebook phone app. Just in terms of those Facebook 3D formats, there's now an option to upload any 2D photo and make it 3D, and it's and basically it uses artificial intelligence algorithms to try and guess at the depth of a scene, and you get quite a variety of guesses from the AI with those, but they can be amusing. And again, it's not perhaps definite 3D. Not perhaps real 3D, but it's something, and it's interesting. Any other questions or comments about the 3D scene on Facebook?
I'd like to mention one thing about 3D on Facebook.
Oh.
If you actually view Facebook 3D images in a VR headset like an Oculus Quest, it renders them in full stereo. So there is a way to view these as an actual stereo image in VR, and on a Quest, because you have 6 degrees of motion, you can actually move in and out of the images. It's really quite amazing.
Oh, cool.
It really changes the game when you see it. And then you also see flaws in your depth map that looked okay on the screen. When you see it in 3D, you say, oh, geez, there's that spot I really need to clean up.
It becomes obvious. I remember you showed me that in Akron last summer for the first time, Eric, and it was mind blowing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So if you ever have
controllers, I remember.
Yeah, if you ever have an opportunity to Facebook owns Oculus, so they've really optimized it when you're on a Quest to be able to look at these images.
One thing that I noticed that you can get higher quality one way versus the other is if you're looking at these images in the Quest, you basically have two choices. You can use the built-in Oculus browser or Firefox Reality, which is an app you download. And Firefox Reality, there's some other browser choices, but a lot of them, most of them, as a matter of fact, don't do that 3D effect from Facebook 3D photos. So Firefox Reality does, but the resolution is lower. So right now, in my opinion, the best quality you can get to view Facebook 3D photos in true stereo with a Quest is with the built-in Oculus browser. So just go to your Facebook page and look at your post, and it'll have a little Enter VR symbol up in the left-hand side. Click that and get ready for the show. Like Eric said, you can move. It's cool to be able to look left and right and up and down, but when you can move in and out, oh man, whole different ball game.
Do you know if it works on the go as well?
It does work. It does work on the go.
You can view them on the go, but the Go doesn't have the tracking, so you can't really do the moving in and out.
Ah, right. True. Yeah. Is the Go limited to 3 degrees of freedom? Is
Yes.
that correct? Okay. So that's the difference. You can move, you can get the effect of moving up and down and side to side. You just can't really move in and out, or not even really up and down. It
You're
gets
really rotating.
tilting. You can, when you tilt your head and rotate your head.
Correct.
Yes. Right. Right. Hey, I like your Disney background there, by the way. I converted a few of those. That's one I haven't tackled yet.
And do you all know if there's any way to view the VR versions of those Facebook 3D photos just on like a Google Cardboard type viewer with your cell phone?
There is not.
That's been kind of the magical, like I've been trying to kind of record a side by side of what that looks like, but unfortunately it's kind of tied up in WebXR or some kind of Facebook thing that I can't tap into.
There are definitely ways to do it if you use ADB, which is Android Debug Bridge. There's like a way to record a full stereo directly from the device. But of course, at that point, you're going to capture it, but you're also going to be capturing a lot of additional stuff on the side, and it's already barrel warped. So you'd have to de-distort it to get the real content that you're looking for. So much more of a hassle. I wish Facebook would just support something more open, but for now it's proprietary.
Interesting. Yeah. Huh.
I read in the chat that that true stereo images look better on Facebook 3D, and I'm wondering, how do you use a pair? I mean, do you have to generate a depth map? Is that how it works?
So Franklin, yes. If you look at that resource document that I mentioned, that's linked for this SIG on the website, I have a link to 2 tutorials that basically show you how to use Stereo Photo Maker to take a stereo pair, generate a depth map from that, and then you select one of those images plus the depth map, and then you export it in a certain way that adds some tags to it into a, so basically what you upload to Facebook is one 2D photo and one depth map, but they need to be specifically formatted and have these embedded tags that Facebook recognizes.
Yeah.
Or of course, if you have a dual camera cell phone, like some of the new iPhones that embed the depth map, then you can upload directly from your phone.
So you're limited by the quality of the depth map, really.
Yeah. Yep. Totally.
So, okay, I was hoping that that wasn't the case, that there was some magic way to get your pair in there with really beautiful, not needing a depth map, but so you're always going to have artifacts, basically.
Yeah. And furthermore, even if you have a good depth map, that's kind of like the upper limit of, I think, how good the Facebook photo will be. Because sometimes you have what you think is a good depth map and it still converts it in a way that messes it up.
Oh, they always compress stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, there's that too.
Sometimes you just
For
get
when
lucky.
the Facebook 3D photo effect first debuted, that it was only available for iPhone users with portrait mode, in other words, new iPhone users. And eventually they sort of Candow cracked the code with the CooCam, and we were able to upload a Facebook 3D photo format directly from their software. Now they've actually reduced the quality, probably the quality too, but the qualifications for that. And now all you have to do, Gordon and everybody, is if you upload an image and then you have a depth map of the exact same name, except after the same name, it's underscore depth. So underscore DEPTH. It will accept that and do that Facebook 3D conversion. All you have to do is drag them both on the new post at the same time, and it'll take them in. They might also have to be the same aspect ratio, but they don't even have to be the same size, curiously enough.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So they've opened the doors a little bit on those.
Okay, thank you for the info on all the Facebook 3D stuff, folks. I think we should move on for the time being to talk about a few other social media platforms so we don't miss them completely. Really quickly, here is, okay, I'm gonna show you perhaps what is one of the few 3D specific social media sharing sites. So this is Ferio. And of course, the big draw of this one is it's built specifically for 3D, and it has built-in conversion tools. It's, as people put it, it's made by stereographers for stereographers. There's a forum feature on it that's kind of connected, but it's largely inactive. Another benefit is that most, if not all, most of the photos are publicly viewable, even without being a registered user. But in terms of drawbacks and limitations, of course, main one, as you can see here, is often photos don't load, and I'm not certain exactly. I'm not certain precisely what's going on, but I think if you do not have a paid pro account, which is an upgrade option, then I believe your pictures may be deleted after a certain length of time. So I just know for myself, I opened an account a few years ago and uploaded maybe 2 or 3 dozen stereos, but at this point, none of my stereos will load on the site at all. So of course, that's quite disappointing. But as far as the built-in features, here's an example. This is one of George's stereos here. This is an anaglyph. But as you can see, if you look at the buttons below, there are options to automatically convert this into different formats, kind of like that HTML5 viewer from Suto-san. So that's very convenient. Another drawback in general is that Ferio, as a platform, it's not being actively supported by the people who created it at the time, I believe, and it's not being actively developed at all. So its future is kind of uncertain, again, which is a shame. Another
Gordon?
drawback, oh, yes?
So there are some people working on possibly taking over the site right now.
Oh,
and so it may be, and being paid has nothing to do with it. It's just lack of support and management right now, but there are some discussions going on that it possibly may go back into a more viable platform. And I don't know if you have stereopix.net on your list.
I've seen that recently, but yeah, thanks for mentioning that. Actually, Linda, if you'd be able to write that in the chat, that'd be great for people to check out. But let me finish talking about a few others before getting to that. No, thank you for the info. So that's good news. I hope that works out for Ferio, because it's a great interface. One more drawback I was going to mention with it is that it's basically completely unusable on mobile. Just there's not a mobile version of it really. But again, so a lot of strong pluses for it, but a lot of minuses at the moment. Okay. And now let's see. I just had a short list of some other social media platforms with 3 on them. StereoPix is certainly great to check out, as Linda mentioned. There again is built-in conversion features. Another interesting 3D dedicated social media platform, which a lot of folks don't know very much about, but is sounds quite interesting, is HoloPix, which is specifically for this 4V image format. And we're lucky today to have Nima Zegami to tell us a little bit about that. So thank you for joining us, Nima.
Thank you, Gordon. So hi, everyone. I'm Nima. I work for Leia. Leia is a company that primarily makes light field displays, which to stereo experts, instead of using the light field terminology, I think auto multiscopic is a little bit more your all speed. So it's auto stereo without any glasses. However, there's also, it's multiscopic, meaning that you can tilt the devices around and see multiple viewpoints of every image. I'm not going to get too much into hardware today in this meeting, because this is, of course, about the HoloPix platform. So HoloPix right now, there is only one public version of it, and it's only available on the Red Hydrogen one. The Red Hydrogen one is one of the smartphones that we helped make. We made the display and the software. But HoloPix actually supports a variety of image formats. So HoloPix does support the 4-view image format, which we just call Leia image format, which is looks like a regular 2D JPEG, but in the metadata has a variety of additional depth information, which allows you to basically, we encode all of our depth information from Leia cameras, which is any device that has a Leia display will have a Leia Cam app. And that allows you to capture our proprietary format. But it's pretty open, and it's based on Google's VR180 format. So anyone who's worked with that will know how it works. However, we also do support SBS. And we support a variety of different types of legacy formats as well. And you convert to formats that work with us. And you can upload as a SBS, and we will save that in the back end, and we will make use of that in a variety of ways, which I'm happy to talk about. HoloPix is pretty similar to Instagram in many ways. We have a home feed. We are updating our home feed in a variety of ways. We're coming out with a new linear feed option, which is coming out later this month in our 2.1 update, which actually looks a lot like Instagram. It's a linear style feed, has a single image at a time you scroll through it. Normally you see a variety of thumbnails though, and then one of the big differences, we have a theater mode. So when you tap on one of the thumbnails, you'll get a full-sized image. So it takes up your entire screen, and it allows you to get that really immersive experience. Outside of that, however, the way that I think of HoloPix, since I'm the product manager, so I try to try to think of like long-term what we're looking for. It's not just for our devices. We actually want to bring HoloPix to everyone. I believe it's the most active 3D social network in the world right now, dedicated to social media. We have I don't know how specific I can be, but we have well into the 5 figures worth of users. We have usually about 3 figures worth of new posts per day. So on many days, we get over 100 different new posts. On like the worst day, I'd say we get like maybe like 20. And it's going to grow. And that's only for right now, one device. We also have a closed beta that's starting for Android. So HoloPix is going to come to Android. And the way that we think about it is that HoloPix is this massive database of 3D images. But the way you view it is going to be device dependent. So on our devices, you get the light field effect. So you get the full auto multiscopic beauty of the image. But on flat traditional devices like Android devices, which we're coming to, and iOS, which we're coming to later this year, we have a technology called depth tilt, which is very similar to Facebook 3D photos. However, we think we've taken Facebook's research that they've published and kind of taken it further. But the way that you tilt it, we take that intermediary format, the lay image format, and create a 3D representation that's done with OpenGL. Well, I don't want to talk about get into the technical details too much, but you can tilt around the device and see a variety of different angles on devices like the Samsung Galaxy S20, Galaxy Note. It's absolutely immersive. It's the most immersive way you can see it. However, I also have some things to share with you. I have a few links to images that you guys might like. We also do something called light field animations. They're very similar to wigglograms. However, a light field animation is much more. So a wigglegram, you're usually defining specific views. For us, what we're able to do is we're using our machine learning software to do view interpolation, meaning if you give us just an SBS with 2 views, we're actually creating usually about 16 views, and we're creating a GIF that's animated in a very specific way. It's not just a linear back and forth. It actually has a rubber banding effect. So it kind of goes, and you guys can check these out. I'm dropping some of the links to my favorites. You'll see some landscape shots turn out really good. Please do these in a browser. Most browsers should work. We also have people who the 3D renderings come from places. They come from Blender, they come from Cinema 4D. I do a lot of video game photography. So on my PlayStation 4, I'll take 3D pictures in, like, for example, Spider-Man, and then I'll post those to our platform, and it'll take the SBS and generate a 4-view multi-view image. So I'm posting a rendering as the second link that I posted, and then I'll show you a picture that I took at the United States Botanic Gardens in Washington, D.C. So this is one of my photos. This is going to be the 3rd one I post. And you all can see the light field animations in these links if you open up in a browser, whether it's on a mobile device or not. And if you guys want to get rid of the text that's covering them, you can just click on the image or tap on the image, and the text will disappear, so you can get the full effect there. So what we're trying to really do is create an intermediary format that allows you to view 3D on any device. So we want people to be able to see them on traditional devices, and then hopefully by bringing it to traditional devices and letting people take 2D photos on traditional phones, take depth map photos on phones like iPhone, Google Pixel, etc. Take SBS photos on phones that support SBS, as well as uploading SBS using a phone. We're basically gonna get more people excited about 3D photos in general. And then hopefully, I mean, obviously long-term, we'd like people to buy our devices, and all the photos that they're posting, because they get turned in that intermediary format, you can see them in full auto multiscopic, in their like full auto multiscopic glory on our devices. And so even like 2D photos, we have some of the best conversion I've seen. We're going to have more of that coming out within the next couple months. I don't know how much I can talk about that, but it will be accessible to all of you. So you'll all be able to do that without an app, without anything special. Just go to a website, and you'll be able to convert any of your 2D images into something that's really like shareable and will be backwards compatible, forwards compatible, etc. We currently do not have any way to view HoloPix as SBS. However, if there's more 3D fans that are interested, we might consider that feature. There's no way to view it in VR yet, but I'm looking at potentially making a Oculus mobile client for Go and Quest in 2021. So we're looking at bringing it to a variety of different platforms. we find that the majority of our users are, it's an interesting network because the majority of our users are actually people from Hollywood. They're people who are Red fans. So Red is the one who makes the really big cameras, and they also made the Red Hydrogen 1 phone. And so what you'll find on HoloPix, unlike StereoPix and Ferio, is that we have a variety of consumers and people who aren't in the stereo photography community like we are. They're not exactly 3D photo enthusiasts, but they're still shooting and posting really beautiful, breathtaking content. And it's just really incredible seeing their skills develop. And the quality bar since the platform came out about 2 years ago has just significantly increased. The things that I'm seeing just blow me away, and people have just really surprised me with the content they're making. There's some really heartwarming content. We had one of our top users, he had a new baby, and the first thing he did is the first day the baby was born, posted this just beautiful, beautiful picture on our platform, and won one of our photo contests, which we do regularly. We have our Photo February contest, our Summer Picks contest is coming up. Yeah, we just have a really great community, and I think it's pretty unique. I think a lot of 3D enthusiasts would really like it. It's not exactly what you're all used to, but I think it has something really unique of value that you might like. So that's kind of the overview on HoloPix. Sorry, I ranted a little bit there, but let me know if you have any questions.
Yes, thank you so much, Nima. That's fascinating. Any questions about HoloPix, folks?
Yes, you say 16 photos in between two, left and right. You can do 16.
So not necessarily. So what we're doing with the light field animations is, yes, we found that for image size as well as quality, 16 was kind of where diminishing returns get hit, but it's not necessarily, the two that you shoot are not necessarily the view 1 and view 16. They could be, let's say, view 4 and view 12. We're still interpolating beyond the view that you actually shot. And our ML does it pretty well. And like I said, you can check out the images yourself in the links that I sent. Those are using our artificial intelligence system that does the view interpolation.
Are you familiar with Looking Glass?
Yes, they are good friends and competitors of ours.
Okay. Thank you.
I think what they're doing is really awesome, and they're definitely pushing this field forward as well.
You know, with the interpolation you were talking about, yeah, I was wondering, you could probably use that interpolation, those conversion techniques to, you know, do things like facilitate a stereo pair being converted to Looking Glass format, or also possibly for taking a stereo pair and converting it to lenticular. Interesting, all the overlap.
Yeah. But believe it or not, again, I don't know how much I'm supposed to talk about, but HoloPix prints is something that I've been working on for quite some time. Definitely COVID has not helped to make that a possibility. But I think a very well-known friend of the stereo community, Z-Axis Prints, Harvey at Z-Axis Prints, would probably be the person that we would work with on that. And we tried many lenticular solutions, but having us generate the views and then get the print out of it is just, it is, I mean, of course I'm biased and take everything I say with a grain of salt, but it's the best lenticular I've seen from a 3D photo ever made. His expertise in addition to our view interpolation is just unparalleled. Oh, and to point out, thank you, Ken, for pointing that out. Part of us being very open and wanting to support everything is we released a database of almost 50,000 what's the word? Well, they're stereo pairs, but they're calibrated. So all of these are very high quality stereo pairs that can be used for computer vision research. They can also just be viewed however you want. And they're very high quality. Some of my images are actually in that database as well, but it's completely open source and we want to push the medium forward. So we just released this database, and if you look up HoloPix 50K, you'll be able to find it. And then to answer John Ribbs, editing of the interpolation and depth map to correct the artifact errors. Yes, so we have a tool called Light Field Studio, which is for professionals, which is on Mac only right now. It does not support photos yet, but in our roadmap is the ability to edit the depth map in layout image format images if there are errors, so that you can create better interpolations as well. I will say that our depth map is not really a depth map, it's actually a disparity map, which is much more useful for our needs for computer vision and machine learning. It's a small difference, but it makes a big difference. A depth map can be artificial, whereas a disparity map is really what is the differences between what the two stereo sensors saw, and that makes a huge, just makes a huge difference as to what it looks like. You might see things that look like artifacts in our disparity map, but they're not artifacts. They're very useful for the machine learning algorithm. So yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Nima. That's fascinating to hear about. Thanks for your time there.
Yep.
Awesome.
Okay, let's see. We only have about 10 minutes left. I did want to mention a few other social media platforms, and I will note that also in the chat, people have mentioned they've mentioned StereoPix as a platform that's perhaps similar to Ferio in terms of its automatic conversion tools. So check that out. I think it looks like there's something like maybe under 100 users, but it looks like a really great a great interface and platform. So check that out. And also a couple people mentioned some active scenes on Reddit. So I'm not familiar with those, but check out the links there in the chat. Thank you. Let's see. There's also in of course Jim Harp's earlier VR workshop, Orbix 360 was mentioned, which is a site that specializes in VR 180 and 3D 360. People said there are lots of file formats available there, and that parallel stereo pairs look amazing if you use a VR viewer with that site. In terms of the disadvantages of that one, there are a lot of 2D images and videos as well to sort through. And of course, you do need some kind of VR headset or at least a VR phone viewer for those. Let's see, in the poll that I sent out, some people also mentioned Twitter, although I think the one person that mentioned it did say, although you can share images there, it's more a channel to find out what is going on in the 3D world, more for news perhaps. Someone also mentioned Visco or VSCO, another photo sharing site. Of course, there's YouTube, which is arguably maybe the best for 3D video with its built-in conversion tools. However, I think their user friendliness has perhaps tapered off in recent years as far as the 3D formats, and to take advantage of kind of the automatic conversion 3D features of that site, you do need a 3D TV. As one respondent put it, also in terms of the social aspects, they said, I don't think there is much of a scene there. It seems to be stale for now. So it's more perhaps just to share your 3D videos rather than to get discussions going about them per se. Let's see. And people also mentioned Pinterest and Tumblr. I have a very old Tumblr website myself, but had a variety of small and sometimes large problems with it. Like sometimes for some reason, it doesn't allow you to upload particular photos, and the reason seems to be hard to figure out. It's like you can crop 1 pixel away from your photo and then it will upload it. And there doesn't seem to be a really great 3D scene on there, and it's also difficult to search for stereo pairs on Tumblr. But does anyone else have social media sites that they recommend for 3D that we haven't mentioned yet?
We haven't gotten to Flickr.
Oh, did I? Oh, I'm sorry. Did I skip the Flickr section? I skipped the Flickr section. I'm sorry. Yes. Well, let's just, because we have not so much time, let's just jump straight to David Starkman. Thank you for being with us, and he's going to tell us about his own and Susan Pinsky's 3D activities on Flickr. Thank you, David.
Hi. I'm not really, Susan really the one that should be doing this, but she was too shy. Flickr, let me see if I can I share screen here? 1 second. What happened to my Flickr page? 1 sec. Can you see this? No. Sorry here. 1 second.
while David, while you're getting that up, I just want to, I'll
Right.
share. Oh,
There we
okay.
are.
Go ahead.
Okay, sorry about that.
No
So this is our Flickr page. And I've never really been much on social media. Not on Facebook, and I only recently got on Instagram just because of the Stereo Club Tokyo. But years and years ago, we wanted to have a way to just share photos. So we think of it just as a photo sharing site. And one reason Susan shows this is you don't have to register or sign up to look at the pictures on it. There doesn't seem to be any huge limits on the type of images or, the size of images. And we can put images on full size and they're downloadable if you want to allow them to be. And we wanted to be able to share. So you can see right now, this one has over 19,000 photos on it. So this is a paid version, so because we had too many to continue with the free version. But when you you can just Google, for example, Susan Pinsky and David Starkman Flickr, and you'll somehow figure out to get to this page. It usually takes you to the photo stream first, and these are in the order that you uploaded pictures. So I suggest then go to albums, and our page is not just 3D. We have family stuff, all kinds of stuff, but the 3D is fairly obvious if you start looking. Because we've been using it for years, when we first started using it, we were using the parallel side-by-side format.
Can I add something?
Wait, Susan wants to say something.
Any subject that you want to look for, you can put in 3D or just 3D cars or 3D cemeteries or 3D Brian May or 3D anything, and it will find all the pictures by anyone, not just us.
If you're in Flickr.
If you're in Flickr.
Up on the top bar, there's a search. I don't know, does my cursor show when I do this?
Yeah.
There's a,
Yes.
okay, yeah, so there's a place to search up here.
And
But-
we try to put most of our images in left, right, left format, not all of them, but for the past few years, we've been going left, right, left for those people who can free view, cross eye and parallel.
So I was just getting to that. So for example,
That's okay, they can see that.
well, no, I wanted to show them, you can not only see it, but how do I get rid of this? What I like is in the corner here, this is a download button, and you can choose the size you want to download it. So if you want, for sharing, we think this is great. So as far as chat and social media type stuff, it's you can if you register and if you sign up and have an account, you can write to people and you can follow people. But again, we like it because you don't have to join anything to share these images with people. We can post an image and share a link to it. And basically, that's about it. I don't know if there's any questions. I'll stop sharing and be happy to take questions.
Thank you, David. Let me add too that on Flickr there are also groups and even impressively specific groups for 3D topics. Like you can find groups devoted to hyper stereos, to macro stereos, aerial 3D, specific cameras, and some of them even have thousands of members. And those groups do have discussion features, kind of like bulletin boards, but I didn't see many that were active.
Well, when I agreed to talk about this, I said we haven't really used a social media aspect of this site, but as you just pointed out, I guess there are ways to do it, and there are these other groups. But just for us personally, we were using it as an image sharing site.
Yeah. And I know there are some limitations for being a free member of Flickr, right?
Yeah.
So, okay. Yeah.
how many images you can put on. It's basically how many images. One of the reasons I use it, I use the paid method is because I used it to back up all my images at one point. I have over about 180,000 images on there.
In another location.
And at one point I lost a 3 terabyte drive. It just died. And they're on Flickr. I mean, I don't know exactly how to find everything on Flickr, but the thing is they're on Flickr. So that's one of my backup areas.
That's very handy.
It is. I go for the backup in many ways as much as you can.
I'm Ramoka.
I just wanted to jump in
And-
with just on the Flickr aspect. I primarily use it and post my cross-view photos in it. From a social aspect, and one of the things we haven't really talked a lot about here today is the use of hashtags and how important they are. I've had, just in the few years that I've had Flickr, I've had a lot of my photos featured in Flickr Explore, and I'll have images that'll get 10,000 views in a day. And I largely attribute that to the hashtags that I use. Just aside from, generally using, your obvious ones like stereoscopic and 3D and cross view and parallel view and a lot of the hashtags that we should be using, but to use hashtags that not only describe your photo, but are general, like words like antique and Americana and landscape and sort of these general terms.
Your Disneyland photos.
Well, not even just the Disneyland photos. I mean, I've had just sort of really oddball photos. All of a sudden, I wake up one day and I check my Flickr account and wow, I've got 300 likes on this photo and 10,000 views. And to me, I look at it more like not so much that I'm looking to. It's not the number of people that's looking at my photos as I look at it like it's sort of 3D proselytizing, the more
missionaries.
I'd like to see the younger generation doing this, which is why David Kuntz talked me into sort of throwing some photos on Instagram. And I just started a couple weeks ago, putting them on there. And I've been really happy to see that seems to be where the younger generation of 3D photographers is posting their stuff. I've been kind of poking around and looking around, and in a lot of the platforms, they change so quickly, and people are looking for new places to put their stuff and what's the sort of the hip new thing. And although I'm not real happy with how small the viewing platform is for Instagram, it seems to be where all the new talent is. So anyway, there's just my 2 cents. Hashtags are important.
Very good.
Yes, good advice, Carl. Thank you. Yes,
Any
also
other-
on.
I'm sorry, just were there any more questions about this or Flickr?
I'll leave it to Gordon.
Well, I just like to mention that there are a couple of other photo sharing sites that people are mentioning in the chat comments. There's SmugMug, which is another photo sharing site. And over on the YouTube chat, someone was asking about the DeviantArt website.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I know that as more a almost a more of a drawn art and like fan art sharing site that some of my friends who are like cartoon artists are on. So I haven't seen much 3D on there, but that'd be interesting to check out. I know it is a popular website and it's a good interface. Can anyone comment on the 3D scene on SmugMug? I think Jay, you had posted something about it.
There's one guy in our club uses it a lot, Andrew Park. I don't think he's with us right now, but we've seen what he's posted, and his stuff looks really good on it. But,
I think Terry Wilson uses it too, but lots of people do.
So SmugMug owns Flickr, so it's the same company.
Yeah.
Donna Scow is the owner, and I posted a Reddit comment from him that he doesn't support stereo right now, but if enough of us ask, maybe they will.
Oh,
Okay.
all right. We'll check out the link. Okay. Well, thank you very much, David and Susan, for sharing the info about Flickr. I think we are just about out of time. I'm not sure if people will cut us off here, but there is the official con happy hour happening in a little under half an hour. If we can stay on for a little bit longer, I'd recommend to people that if you want to save the chats, you go down to open up the chat window, and then if you click on the 3 dots there, you can go to save chat. And you might want to do that. And as well, I've already posted in the chat a link to the resource document about this entire session. And you can also find that on the official con website. And there's also a link to that Google document where if you want to share your 3D social media contact info, you can check out the other attendees here and like and follow and subscribe and so forth to everyone who is on here. And yeah.
If you're on an iPad, you can't save the chat. Is there any place it's going to be archived?
Oh,
yes, we are saving the chats as well, so we'll have them.
Oh, thanks.
Good.
David, I like your ties.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He likes the ties in your background.
Oh, thanks. Yes. So I'm a professional musician by trade, but I'm not dressing up and playing concerts very often these days, unfortunately. So my uniforms are just hanging out and waiting for things to get back to normal.
Well, Gordon, thank you so much. Thank you so much for putting this together. Thank you to the guests that you invited. This has really been a great discussion. I think we really got a lot out of this, and there's a bunch of things that I want to try out now.
Yes, thanks again to Jasmine and to S. Rathinagiri and to David Starkman, Susan Pinsky, to Nima Zegami for giving their time and expertise to us.
And Gordon, will you be at the happy hour?
Yes, I might be a little bit late after cleaning up a bit, but I will be there. Yes, I look forward to seeing.
Okay, well, I'd love to invite all of our speakers here to continue the conversation in the happy hour that's going to start in less than a half hour.
I'll be back.
We're going to have a thing where people hold up their animals too, because we always need to have that.
Oh,
That's
yes,
a happy
yes.
hour thing.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Get your animals ready.
I love that.
Warn them.
No, don't warn them. You get better shot.
I'd like to see Franklin's cat.
Haha.
Yeah.
Well, if does anyone have a final comment they'd like to make before we close out this Zoom? No? Okay. Well, you know what?
Actually,
thank
Eric,
you.
Let me say one thing real quick, Eric, if you don't
Go
mind.
ahead. Yeah.
I know a few of you probably
ahead.
attended my workshop on conversions, and unfortunately, we weren't smart enough to think to keep it going afterward, so I didn't get to hit any Q&A. So if anybody has any questions, I posted on Facebook. You can also get in touch with me at jim@lifeis3d.com. But last time I did something anywhere close to that, and that was packed with way more information, I got swamped with questions. So I would love to answer them all. Just please seek me out. Like I said, I'll be around. I'll be at the happy hour and all that good stuff. So I'd love to answer all your questions. And it's good to see all you guys here.
Yeah, I was wondering if I missed, was there anything mentioned about AltSpace VR?
No, not that I'm aware of.
And what about Big Screen? Any of the virtual reality sites like Big Screen?
Definitely come to the VR SIG tomorrow. We're going to be holding in Mozilla Hubs. So it's going to be in VR as well as in Zoom. So we'll have an interactive, we'll talk about Big Screen. We'll talk about some of the different worlds like Steam and AltSpace and sans AR, and we'll have a bunch of wild VR kind of stuff tomorrow.
Where is that at what time rather? Pacific?
Well, now the calendar isn't showing in, it's showing in my time. So it's 3:15 my time. So 12:15.
It's 12:15 Pacific.
And that's, how do you get to Mozilla Hubs? What's that?
There's the cat. Well, it's this isn't about VR per se right now, but it's if you just do a search for Mozilla Hubs, you'll find it, and it's basically kind of an open, like an open platform, and it runs all within your browser, and you can go and you can either you can look. It's very accessible. Talk about it.
What I would suggest is if you're interested, you can come to the Zoom for that seminar, and we'll have all the information in the chat for you to click a link to go over to it.
Oh, okay.
All right, I'm taking a screenshot of the cats because the cats are up now.
Wait, one sec. We got a stereo pair here.
All right.
Mine ran away.
And one last thing, is there anything about holography?
So cute, so cute.
That's a different convention.
Well, I'll tell you what.
So cute.
Why don't we carry this over when we start the happy hour? But one of the great things about doing it in this format is you're all on Zoom. Zoom gives everyone their own personal room. So if someone wants to start up a discussion on holography, you're
That's
welcome
right.
to start up a Zoom and say, hey, go to the Facebook page, say anyone who wants to chat about holography, come to this Zoom that I'm starting. And we'd love to have all kinds of discussions like that happening around the convention.
Okay.
I have one question. Should those cats be viewed parallel or cross view?
Either one. Either one.
Depends if you want them pseudoscopic.
They seem well trained.
Okay.
They're looking a little cross.
I can see we're devolving now into happy hour already. So I'm gonna end this Zoom so we can start the next one, and we can continue all the cats and dogs and guinea pigs and any other animals you want to show on screen.
Yeah.
In just a couple
I
minutes.
want to see them all.
So thank you everyone for joining this. We'll see you soon.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
And
thank you.
And thank you to everyone who's over on YouTube watching too.
Yes.
Thanks, everyone.
Out of that.